Do you think you've truly been loved?
No.
No. And do you think you really have experienced loving someone?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah.
And when you can't get that love back?
What I learned, it's not that I'm not lovable. It's that they're not capable.
They can't love.
They don't have it in them. They need to appreciate the little person inside of them.
They have little to give.
On October 15th, 2025, The Howard Stern Show released an episode featuring an in-depth interview with Jennifer Lopez that quickly became the talk of the internet. While the conversation covered many aspects of her life and career, one particular moment stood out: Lopez's admission that in her past relationships, they didn't love me, and I didn't love myself. Her reflection echoed a familiar theme often expressed by public figures like Tia Mowry and Jeannie Mai, who speak about taking time to rediscover self-love after breakups. However, Lopez's words didn't sit well with everyone. Among the few who responded publicly was her ex-husband, Johnny Noah, who took to Instagram to share his frustration. Referring to the interview, he criticized Lopez for portraying herself as a victim and claimed that he had been a devoted partner who left everything behind: his job, home, and family, to support and love her. Noah insisted he was honest and faithful, but accused Lopez of prioritizing fame and fortune over their marriage, lying and cheating despite his attempts to keep their relationship alive. "Tell the truth," he urged in his post. "You are the problem, not me." His response quickly went viral, gaining support from fans and online commentators, including media personality Tasha K., who sided with his perspective.
A lot of them out here disguising as wives, but really they get bored real easy. Now I understand why she left Diddy. I get it. Was she giving Desperate Housewives here? Okay. And now she like what? Jenny from the block? Like she was raised really in the Bronx for real? She morphs into the personality that keeps her wet at the time, and when it gets dry, she moves on. And she probably, I'm telling you, I'm like, how does Ben Affleck, when you start swinging back to, your old, like you've ran out of, she finna move on to women. Ask Portia.
One crucial point that really stands out is the idea that Jennifer Lopez may have spun the block, so to speak, because she was running out of romantic options. On the surface, it may sound like a superficial observation, but it actually points to a much deeper and more significant issue about accountability and self-awareness in relationships. As I've gotten older and observed both my own experiences and those of others, I've noticed a recurring pattern. Some people not only avoid taking responsibility for their actions, but they also fall into cycles of self-deception, completely refusing to recognize their role in failed relationships. There's a world of difference between someone who occasionally avoids accountability and someone who is utterly detached from reality. That distinction is critical because it directly affects how they navigate relationships and how those relationships affect the people around them. In the past, encountering women who deflected blame in the way Lopez seemed to do often left me feeling compelled to respond, to challenge them, to point out their inconsistencies, or to expose the flaws in their reasoning. I felt the need to prove them wrong, almost like a toned-down version of Kevin Samuels. I thought that if I could reason with them or show them the truth, perhaps they would see their own patterns, admit fault, and change. Back around 2018 and 2019, this mindset was common, especially with the surge of relationship podcasts. These shows often revolved around debate, analysis, and dissecting relationship dynamics, giving men and women platforms to discuss who was at fault, whose behavior was problematic, and how to approach accountability. It felt like a space where issues could be aired, discussed, and clarified, and at the time, I thought engaging in these conversations might yield real understanding. But over time, I came to a harsh but important realization. Trying to reason with someone who refuses to see their own patterns is a losing battle. No matter how logical, fair, or patient you are, you cannot force someone to accept responsibility if they are unwilling to. The effort you invest will almost always come back to frustrate you, drain you, and make you question your own judgment. That insight changed the way I approach relationships entirely. Now, when I encounter that kind of mindset, whether on a date, in a romantic relationship, or even in casual interactions, I have learned to simply walk away. It's not out of bitterness or anger. It's out of a recognition of my own value and the importance of preserving my peace. Fellas, this is a lesson worth emphasizing. If you find yourself on a date with a woman who immediately starts blaming all her exes or her baby daddy for every problem in her past, that's a clear sign. That behavior is a red flag, and it's your cue to take a step back. These stories are not your responsibility to fix. No matter how appealing the person may seem, some narratives are not worth rewriting. Attempting to correct or guide someone who refuses to see their own faults is ultimately a waste of time and energy. It's important to recognize these patterns early so you can protect your emotional well-being and avoid unnecessary frustration. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It's an act of self-respect and a conscious choice to prioritize your own growth, peace, and clarity over the chaos of someone else's unresolved issues. In relationships, discernment is everything. Understanding when to engage and when to disengage can save you from months, even years, of emotional exhaustion. The world is full of people who will blame circumstances, partners, or life itself for their problems. But recognizing those who refuse to own their part and learning to step back allows you to focus on healthier, more balanced connections. It's a subtle skill, one that grows with experience, but it is invaluable. Ultimately, some people's patterns will never change, and the wisest approach is to let them be and move on. Some stories simply aren't meant to be rewritten, and knowing that is a form of empowerment. Here's the thing, you can usually tell a lot about someone by how they talk about their exes. If a woman immediately starts describing her past partner as a loser, saying he was broke, lazy, or the entire reason the relationship failed, that's a major red flag. It usually means she's not taking any responsibility for her own part in the story. And what tends to happen next? You get involved with her, start to notice the same patterns, and the moment things go wrong, she moves on to someone else and blames you for everything. It's a cycle that never ends. That's why, the second you recognize this behavior, the smartest move is to walk away before frustration becomes your daily reality. No matter how attractive she is, it's not worth the emotional chaos. I learned that lesson firsthand while dating a woman who looked amazing on the outside, but thrived on attention. One day, she posted a video showing off gifts from another guy, flowers, cash, and even a brand new TV, all while we were still seeing each other. It wasn't just the gifts that bothered me, it was the fact that she felt the need to flaunt them online like nothing was wrong. That's when it hit me. She was entertaining someone else the entire time. And honestly, the best thing I did was walk away before I got caught in that same exhausting loop of excuses and denial. Eventually, I realized I had reached my limit. I was done dealing with her, done navigating the emotional roller coaster, done feeling drained and manipulated. I told her straight up that I wasn't interested anymore. No sugarcoating, no excuses, just a clear, firm statement of my boundaries. But instead of accepting it, she immediately escalated. My phone began buzzing nonstop with texts and calls. Each notification seemed to carry the same message: heartbreak, guilt, and emotional coercion. She insisted that I'd hurt her feelings, portraying herself as the victim while dismissing everything I had experienced. To her, the chaos we went through was just content, something trivial that didn't matter, something that could be laughed off and shared with an audience. But for me, it wasn't trivial. It was exhausting, emotionally taxing, and completely unsustainable. I tried to remain calm, even patient, hoping that some sense of accountability might emerge. For a brief period, we made peace. Things calmed down, and I thought perhaps the storm had passed. I told myself I could let it go, try to move on without further drama. But life, as it often does, proved me wrong. A couple of months later, the cycle repeated itself. There she was again, this time flaunting a brand new Range Rover online, posing, taking photos, and posting content that directly tied back to the same issue that had caused our initial conflict. Seeing her there, proud and unbothered, it hit me. This wasn't about reconciliation, regret, or even heartbreak. It was about control, attention, and manipulation. She reached out once more, claiming I had made her cry, claiming that I had broken her heart. But by then, I had grown wiser to the patterns, learned to recognize the behaviors that I had once allowed to confuse me. It wasn't sadness I was witnessing, it was calculated manipulation. It wasn't vulnerability, it was a strategy to draw me back in, to test whether I would bend, justify, or falter. I realized at that moment that trying to explain my side or convince her to see the situation my way would be a total waste of energy. Some people simply aren't interested in accountability. They aren't interested in understanding the truth of their actions or reflecting on their consequences. They are interested in one thing only: control. And no matter how many times you try to engage them, you cannot force someone who is committed to denial to accept reality. So I made a decision. I blocked her. Not angrily, not out of spite, but firmly and decisively. I moved on. I promised myself that I would not get dragged back into that chaos, that I would protect my peace, my energy, and my sense of self-worth. I realized that holding on or trying to reason with someone like her only prolongs suffering and delays growth. People who live in denial rarely change. They do not suddenly wake up one day with new insight or a newfound sense of responsibility. Instead, they move from one situation to the next, repeating the same patterns, leaving a trail of emotional damage in their wake. I had witnessed it firsthand, and the lesson was clear. Staying attached to them is not loyalty, it is self-sabotage. Through all of this, I also came to understand the difference between people who are truly grounded and self-aware, and those who are not. The good women, the ones who are responsible, self-reflective, and emotionally mature, do not need to be coached into decency or integrity. They naturally live by these values. Their actions align with their words, and their intentions are sincere. Being with them does not feel like a constant struggle to extract honesty or accountability. You don't have to guess where you stand, and you don't have to continuously defend yourself or explain your motives. They are partners in the truest sense: reliable, steady, and respectful. On the other hand, those who exhibit toxic behaviors, no matter how attractive they might be or how strong the chemistry seems, are never truly changeable in a way that matters. They may charm, seduce, or entertain, but their underlying patterns, manipulation, denial, avoidance of responsibility, will always resurface. The initial thrill of attention or excitement cannot mask the reality that they are unlikely to grow without recognizing their own flaws. Chemistry alone is not enough to overcome toxicity. What seems enticing at first often becomes exhausting and harmful over time. It is a harsh truth, but one I had to learn the hard way: beauty, charisma, or charm cannot compensate for a lack of accountability. Ultimately, letting go is an act of self-preservation. By removing toxic people from your life, you free yourself to focus on your own growth, to pursue your own goals, and to nurture relationships that actually nourish you. Walking away isn't weakness. It is strength. It is clarity. It is understanding that your time, energy, and peace are more valuable than anyone's attempt to manipulate or control you. It is choosing yourself over chaos, freedom over conflict, and growth over stagnation. And once you embrace that mindset, you realize that the right people, the ones who are self-aware, grounded, and responsible, are the ones worth investing in. The rest, no matter how alluring, are better left behind. At the end of the day, when you begin to recognize the toxic patterns in someone's behavior, the wisest thing you can do for yourself is to simply let them go. It doesn't matter how much you care about them, how much time you've invested, or how deeply you once believed things could change. If a person continuously brings chaos into your life, holding on will only cause more damage. Some people thrive on dysfunction because it's familiar. They repeat the same cycles of blame and denial, convincing themselves that they're victims of circumstance instead of architects of their own downfall. When you encounter that kind of mindset, the healthiest choice isn't to argue, lecture, or prove a point. It's to walk away with your dignity intact. Trying to fix a person who refuses to see their faults is like trying to pour water into a broken cup. No matter how much you give, it will never be enough. They'll keep deflecting, denying, and projecting until you're left feeling emotionally exhausted and questioning your own sanity. You could show them every example of their hypocrisy, provide every bit of evidence of their wrongdoings, and they'd still find a way to twist the narrative until somehow you become the villain. That's why arguing with someone who lives in denial is a trap. The more you engage, the more you get pulled into their world of distortion. Eventually, you start doubting yourself, and that's when you realize the battle was never about truth, it was about control. When someone like that decides to leave your life, consider it a blessing, not a loss. They're doing you a favor by removing themselves from your peace. Let them carry those same unresolved issues into the next relationship because they will. People who never take accountability don't evolve. They just change partners and repeat the same destructive patterns. And every new person who enters their orbit will end up living the same story you did, wondering where it all went wrong. It's a painful truth, but it's also a freeing one. Once you accept that some people will never change, you stop feeling responsible for saving them. It's important, especially for men, to understand this dynamic. Too often, men are conditioned to fix things, to solve problems, to lead, to provide stability. But in relationships where emotional chaos reigns, those instincts can turn against them. You can't build peace with someone who feeds on conflict, and you can't reason with a person who refuses to reason with themselves. Many men find themselves drained not because they're weak, but because they've poured everything they have into someone who wasn't willing to meet them halfway. They confuse endurance with love and mistake suffering for loyalty. But love should not feel like a full-time repair job. Love should build you, not break you. The truth is, every minute you spend trying to convince someone who doesn't want to understand is a minute you steal from your own growth. Time spent explaining basic respect or honesty is time you could use building your dreams, strengthening your character, or nurturing relationships that actually feed your soul. Life is too short to argue with people committed to misunderstanding you. The moment you feel your peace being disturbed more than your joy being shared, that's your signal. It's time to leave. And leaving doesn't make you cold or heartless. It means you've learned the difference between patience and self-betrayal. You can wish someone well without wishing to keep them close. You can love someone and still choose to protect yourself from their chaos. Detachment, in this sense, isn't bitterness, it's clarity. It's saying, I see who you are and I accept that, but I also see who I am and I refuse to keep suffering because of your refusal to grow. Men work hard. They spend their days grinding, building, hustling, trying to create a stable life in a world that doesn't always offer one easily. So why waste that energy being emotionally drained by someone who refuses to be honest? A relationship should be a place of restoration, not depletion. It should feel like a partnership, not a battlefield. And yet, too many men end up carrying the weight of someone else's emotional baggage because they think walking away makes them weak. In reality, it's one of the strongest things a man can do. Strength isn't about how long you can endure chaos. It's about how quickly you can recognize it and choose peace instead. So don't argue with delusion. Don't chase validation from someone who will never see your worth. Don't beg for understanding from a person who thrives on misunderstanding. Let them go live their life the way they want, even if that means repeating the same mistakes with someone else. Because once you remove yourself from that cycle, you start to rediscover your own strength, your own rhythm, and your own joy. You'll find that peace isn't something others give you, it's something you protect. At some point, you have to stop trying to be the cure for people who refuse to admit they're sick. You're not obligated to fix every broken person that enters your life. You're only responsible for protecting your own heart and peace of mind. When you finally let go of the need to make them understand, you'll realize how much lighter you feel. Walking away doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've finally chosen yourself. Know your worth, step back, and move on. Because peace, once you taste it, will never let you settle for chaos again.